US President Donald Trump's unexpected decision to ban all Iranian oil purchases after May the 1st, ending exemptions for 8 nations, came after hawkish economic and security advisors allayed the president's fears of an oil price hike. The unprecedented move to fully sever Tehran's financial lifeline, finalised just days before the April 22nd announcement, underscores the influence of hardliners within Trump's National Security Council. They had for months argued for tightening the sanctions over the objections of State Department officials who favoured allowing some partners and allies to keep buying Iranian oil. No one's actually tried to take this decision all the way to zero, a senior administration officer told Reuters, adding that forging a consensus amongst government agencies requires a lot of work. President Donald Trump has been eager to halt Iran's oil exports since slapping sanctions on the Islamic Republic last November, for the first time since 2015, a move intended as punishment for Iran's nuclear ambitions and its support of armed militant groups in the Middle East. But he initially backed a go-slow approach, providing waivers to allies and trading partners such as China, India and Turkey. The United States currently removes around 2 million barrels of oil per day from the world's oil supply through sanctions on Iran and Venezuela. But Washington hopes that soaring US oil production, now at an all-time high of more than 12 million barrels a day, will keep global markets well supplied and hold prices down. By the weekend of April the 20th, with the initial 180-day waivers given to countries due to expire on May the 1st, top economic and security advisors convinced Trump that the time had come to cut Iranian oil exports completely. The National Security Council played a key role in driving the argument to end the waiver program, especially Richard Goldberg, a new member of Trump's administration and a long-time advocate for confronting Iran. Previously, Goldberg was an advisor at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, a think tank headed by Mark Dubowitz, a leading advocate for tougher handling of Iran since the United States' first round of sanctions under the country's former president Barack Obama. In 2012, Goldberg was an aide to then Senator Mark Kirk and delivered a blow to Tehran by writing legislation that closed Iran's last legal loophole in selling oil under the Obama sanctions. That legislation targeted the Belgian-based SWIFT financial messaging system, over which Iran was conducting billions of dollars of trade in oil. Leading up to the announcement, it's reported that Trump discussed the matter with Bolton, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, Energy Secretary Rick Perry, as well as Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. While Bolton and Perry backed ending the waivers, some of Pompeo's State Department reiterated worries about the potential for rising oil prices, but they ultimately dropped their objections and supported the aggressive policy towards Iran. At the time, the State Department had engaged in talks with at least 5 of the 8 countries holding waivers, according to sources reported by Reuters, those being China, India, South Korea, Japan and Turkey. However, the decision still caught several key US allies and Iranian oil buyers off guard, and led to China's foreign ministry issuing a formal complaint to the United States. Following the announcement, oil prices hit a 6-month high. And let's not forget, Trump has been anxious that rising oil prices could hurt the economy, as well as hitting retail gasoline prices. And in his last tweet before the waiver decision, he said that global oil markets were fragile. It's believed that in concert with the decision, he's also asked members of OPEC to increase the flow of oil to compensate for losses from Iran and Venezuela. And one senior administration official said Trump held conversations recently with the Saudi and Emirati leaders on oil prices and received assurances that the 2 oil producers will ensure that the market stays well supplied. Quite how effective Trump's statements will be is another matter. For example, Saudi Arabia's energy minister responded by saying that he saw no need to raise oil immediately, and OPEC production recently declined by 1.6 million barrels per day between December and March. The question has to be asked, was this the right time, was it the right decision? Thinking back to 2012, the Obama administration had imposed sanctions to thwart the nuclear ambitions and kept its waivers in place throughout the duration of the campaign. Obama's sanctions ended with the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, an international accord with Tehran reached in 2015, and that was again aimed at preventing Iran from getting a nuclear bomb. During his election campaign, Trump had ridiculed the deal and unilaterally abandoned it last year. Some saw this as acting in bad faith, Some saw it as a holding election promise, but international nuclear inspectors said at the time that Iran was abiding by the deal's terms. Last week, State Department officials said it was the Trump administration's intention from the start to bring Iran exports to zero, but the timing, frankly, had not been right until now. To quote Frank Fannon, US Assistant Secretary of State for Energy Resources, "We're doing this in favourable market conditions with a full commitment from producing countries. Frankly, we think the time is right. Whether OPEC will be willing to support such a plan, I'm afraid we'll only know in the fullness of time."